Hello, welcome back to Steve's Corner. Spring is on the way. It ain't here quite yet. It was 70 degrees yesterday, like 72, 76, something like that. I think it got to 50 today, and it's been raining all day. Miserable daggone day. And I suppose you get down in the 20s tonight. This is a terrible place to live in the spring and the fall. You can never tell when the weather breaks until it's too late. We got about another month or so of winter left, and then about this time next month, everything should be broke for good. It'd be decent days every day. You won't have a 30-degree day or nothing like that. But the daggone daylilies are popping up, trees are budding out. I seen the robins. Was it one day last week? I think it was one day last week I saw them. They from what they say, they don't migrate from here. We don't get cold enough, and some of them migrate from Canada down this way. But some of them don't. I think it just depends on the bird, I guess. But as a general rule, they don't migrate for winter this far south. And so every year about this time, well, I don't ever see any in the wintertime. I never see any robins in the wintertime. But every year about this time, there'll be hundreds of them in your yard. They'll be out in where I saw them at first was over to a park where I take my walk at in the mornings. They had the soccer field full, man. I mean, it was a bunch of them, Doc. And that always signals it's about springtime whenever I see the robins and it gets me excited. I usually spend January and February thinking about what I'm going to do this year. We'll let that train pass. All right, it's gone now. But like I was saying, usually I spend January and February plotting and planning what what I'm going to do this year during the warm months. And I went last Wednesday, and bought the wood to build that extension on my uh, above ground planter boxes for garden boxes, raised bed garden boxes, and I got that, and then well, I was too busy that day to fool with building it, and it's something come up Thursday. Oh, I was busy Thursday doing something else, and then today it started raining. It rained all day. So I didn't get a chance to, but I got a chance next week. I might do it tomorrow. The wife and daughter are going to run off tomorrow. They're going to a wedding down in Mecklenburg County, I believe, down in next North Carolina. And so I'll be by myself all day tomorrow. Maybe I'll get out and do that. If not, I'll do it one day next week. It's supposed to be back up in the 60s and 70s next week. So, but yeah, and I got plans on building me a daggone bird feeder station out here in front of the shed. It's got to be so far from a fence or whatever, a tree, so they can't jump on it, and then it's got to be so far off the ground so they can't jump up to it, and it won't fall. But what is it? They say they won't jump down, but about 9 feet from off a tree limb or something. So that's about the only spot in the yard I got, and that's I want to stick it right in the middle of the yard, and I don't want to do that. Stick it over there near that shed. I staked it out, have 3 or 4 planters on it, and because you got the squirrels are so bad around here. I guess I could take my pellet gun and get a couple of them for dinner one night, but I don't really want to do that. But I used to have them when the kids were little. I had a bird feeder over here and had a suet planter, and then usually always hang a daggone hummingbird feeder over in front of the kitchen window so the wife would watch them when she's in there. She likes that. So little stuff like that. Most of the stuff I don't ever get to. But it's such a bad time to be outside in January and February around here. You just don't want to, you got nothing else to do, and keeps you from going stir crazy in the house. Usually about this time of year, I'll start drawing out where I want to put my rows at from my garden. I used to have a in-ground garden over here before I put that shed over there. whether I wanted to put my tomatoes in the front row or the last row, or how many okra plants where they were going to go, stuff like that. But I don't have to worry with that now because I just got them planter boxes, so I just put one thing in one thing in the other one. Ain't gonna be but two, but I got plans on extending it every year. Add another box to it every year till I get about two, four, six, about 7 or 8 boxes in there. I got to fence it off this year too because the deer caught it last year. I didn't hardly get any tomatoes out of it, but it was I was more or less just checking to see if it was an okay location, got enough sunlight, and it was. But yeah, that's all I've been doing. What do y'all think about that daggone train derailment up there in East Palestine, Ohio? That's terrible. We had the same kind of thing happen down here in '74, and it was a chemical plant across the river over there in Hopewell, and they were making some kind of bug killer over there, and they were pouring it down the sewage drainage down there. Ended up shutting the daggone water treatment plant down, and and it was going straight to the river, and it's still in that river today. From Richmond all the way up down to Chesapeake Bay, you weren't allowed to eat fish for about 20 years that you called out that river. They told you not to because you'd get it in you. It's called a keep home. I got a couple of videos on here I was watching the other night. And to this day, they still have an advisory in your little handbook you get when you get your fishing license. It's advisable not to eat more than one meal a month or one meal a week or whatever at the fish you catch because of the keep home levels in it. So it was a mess. I'll never forget it. I was driving by there one time when I was a kid, and Mama was asking Dad, said, maybe we ought to go a different way. She didn't even want to drive by the place. But it was a mess. It truly was a mess. It was at the time of the lawsuit, it was the biggest lawsuit monetarily against a major company like that for an industrial accident like that. So, and that happened, what, 2, 3 years for Love Canal. That Love Canal was a lot worse. They shut the whole daggone city town down. That's terrible. But I have all ideas watching. I watched a girl throw a rock in one of them creeks up yonder last night, and you had that oil look like it was bubbling up from the ground underneath the sediment in the bottom, and that makes me think of the river out here. That's what happened. They just had to give it time to more sediment lay on top of it and keep it buried. Every time they have to dredge it because we've got ocean going ships goes by here. Every time they have to dredge it, they have to put out a warning about not getting in the water and stuff around here. And that's still now, that's 50 years ago. So I have all ideas they're going to have the same kind of trouble up yonder. And daggone, see, I got an aunt lives right across the river from there, right across the state line over in Pennsylvania, up in Pulaski. And since that's the high river up yonder, it flows right by the rest of Dad's people. Live down in West Virginia and Ohio. They live a little further south, down near Parkersburg. And so if it infects that river, man, ain't no telling where that thing could go. It could ride right on down into Mississippi and on out to the Gulf. I don't know nothing about that chemical. I don't know the half life of it or none of that junk. But it could be a bad situation. Them people up there have had a lot of problem with water lately. Town down the road from Dad, where Dad grew up at, they had a cleaning chemical from like a dry cleaning plant get in the water source up yonder. They ended up having to build all new water lines in town and everything. It was terrible. I hate it for them people. And the big thing is the unknown. That's the big thing. Are you gonna you come down with the shakes, or is it gonna affect your nervous system, or it's gonna affect your brain or whatever? And they ain't get no daggone answers. And that's a shame. That's what the daggone federal government's for, the EPA and all that stuff. From what I hear, the EPA is going up there and just playing roughhouse with them. They ain't allowing them, ain't telling them nothing. Just say, hey, we're going to take over this place right here and do some sampling. Y'all get out or whatever. Can't do that with people's lives. I don't know. But next week's gonna be a big week. I'm gonna be busy, so it's gonna be pretty. I'll be working on my garden. Might get over to see Mom and take down some of her privacy fence, use some of her poles to build that daggone bird feeder station out of. We'll see. Well, y'all be good. We'll talk with y'all later. Have a nice weekend.